Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Confidence Rewired series. We have been looking at the topic from trauma to triumph, how survivors rebuild their confidence. And if you watched part one of Regina Chris-Ogbodo's story, you already know how deeply moving it was. She took us back to those early days of becoming a teen mom, the shock, the pause on her dreams, and the heavy impact on her confidence. Today, we pick up where we left off. In this part of the conversation, she shares what came after the initial shock, navigating motherhood at such a young age, dealing with judgment and the quiet battles no one saw. This is where the resilience starts to rise, even if it's only in small steps. Let's dive right in.
I would always say, God, if you can help me, I want to get out of this. I know that there was much more. And I'm always grateful to my father. I would everywhere tell the story. I can't forget Bishop Ruben Uluoka and his wife. Why on earth? The trajectory of my life would have taken another course if they didn't step in.
Yeah.
That's the spiritual angle. And I had a brother that today I consider a father.
Yeah.
He was a single man. He had every reason not to accept me. But he stuck his neck and wanted me. I mean, he was not happy. Lola, some of the things I think YouTube will be stopped. I mean, do you know what it means for you to talk with someone you're living in the same house with? You can tell on average, maybe twice a week, and that twice, putting them on an average, is not up to 30 minutes. I went through that. And I think you kind of detected some part of that. I was happier when you people visited, because that was the only time that I could express. Every other time I'm locked up in my room. I had moments that I suggested to myself, now could I take off that? But he was such an organized person. So he labeled things in the bathroom. Some of them were poison. He would put it poison. The devil spoke to me many times. Can you take this or give your daughter? Ended. I know that time. I can tell you. And then I resorted to saying, okay. I know if I kill myself, I'll go to hellfire. What if I pray to God to do it for me? And I began to pray, and I would fast. You see, trauma, it's just the way it is. Terrible. I like whoever coined that word trauma, really got it. It's trauma. You hear voices. No matter how happy you are outside, you come out and you're reminded of how finished you are, how you've messed the family. The voice that would tell you nothing would come out of you again.
Yeah.
You go to church, you come back, you're happy, you sang in the choir, people, accolades, people gave you ovation. But the moment you get back home, it's reminding you that, look at you, is that all? You were changing 3 clothes. You put this one this week, the upper Sunday, you know what it is, the upper Sunday, because you left home like a fugitive in the dead of the night, so as to help, to douse the controversy that you caused. Those were the things that went through. And so, at that moment of my life, God helped me. The word of God went with me. Every day I hear it. And that's why I believe in that scripture that said, washing of the water by the word. And it washes. And that trauma began to turn to confidence, because I've always been a confident child. My father, I give it to him, blessed memory. My father instilled confidence in us. And I particularly, I could talk as early as 5. I could address any audience. I didn't know, but when I grew up, I realized, looking back, I knew, wow, Dad, thank you. But it waned at that moment of my being a mother, that first time. I was second guessing myself. I was wondering, Can anything ever happen? Can any good happen? You know, when you people say, there's party you never read meaning. Oh my God, you guys, you never really read meanings. But then inside of me, the voice that speaks to me, that's why I'm saying I defined confidence from the hindrances within.
Yeah.
They are the demons that you have to deal with quickly before any other thing. All right. So that happened. And then I scaled the going for my jam. The first jam jammed me. Of course, talking about jam, talking about joint admissions, matriculation board. That exam that you have to do before you get to university in Nigeria. And I was drained. My brother reminded me, he gave me one chance and told me if I missed that, that was all. And I'm grateful to the body of Christ. That man that still told me, my father, and said, you can go again. Now, with the help of a member, that form was bought. You know what 10 naira meant back in the day? It was big. That was 10 naira. And that 10 naira, it was with holy reverence and nice letter that I went to request for. And that person obliged me. And then my father said, go ahead. But before then, I began to pick up in Ojere too, public relations.
Yeah.
I recall, I took that, and it was so big. Daddy was, looked at it as if I went to Cambridge. I was so excited about it. But then,
before we cross over to how you were able to get out of this experience, let us quickly look at the effect of all these experiences, the effect on you. How did this experience you had, how did it shake or shatter your self-worth? How did it affect your self-worth?
It took away my freedom. One. That's number one. And I was at the peak of my exuberance as a youth. I was supposed to, at that moment, I'm not supposed to have had any responsibility. But I had a baby. And then so I was traumatized on the fact that you guys could go out.
You were not
when you have a program, you could. Everything I did, I had to consider her. Don't forget that I didn't have a mother around. I didn't have a father. I didn't have anybody, as it were, for me to go say to Don, except my neighbors, my landlord's wife of blessed memory, an amazing woman. She was the one that I could at least. But then I also overprotected her because I thought it was love, but I became so scared of not wanting
your experience. Yeah.
So I think something in my head began to tell me, look, protect this child. She too will not go one way. I knew I started thinking about that. I'm speaking it into her life. But, I realized that fear was it. So I lost my freedom. Fear began to come up. I began to second guess, wonder if I could go back to school again.
Ever, yeah.
So I was wondering, would I ever? I recall back in the day, my brother would bring newspapers from the office because he knew I've always loved reading. I read everything under the sun. I read the obituaries. I could read over and over, go back to the same newspaper again. I could tell line. I knew columnists because I had nothing to do. So each of those pages, I was looking for a job. That Daily Times, oh my God, I will look for a job. I told myself, just get a job. Your life is ended. And so I believe that lie and I'll go. But every job required 2 years experience, but I have had at least an OND, an HND, everything, nowhere. I can't recall ever having somewhere that said a GC holder, that's talking about the general certificate, education, whatever certificate, was worth getting that job. Nobody would have gone to the newspaper just to announce that a GC
Exactly.
But I was lying to myself. So I believed those lies. I I never believed, honestly, for years. As confident that I became pretentious about that confidence I had. I was wearing a gown that looked like this was me. But the truth of it is that I was nothing near those things. But I could. The only safe place was that when I was in the choir, I'm singing, I felt safe. But the moment I'm outside there, I was nothing. So fear, lack of confidence, freedom. Oh goodness. I've always been a fly, happy-go-lucky girl. I never heard it. And of course, I was wary of people. I was very suspicious of men.
Oh, sure.
I was. And a lot of people didn't know. I think a few eventually understood. I just look at a man and just like, you get out. This person is coming again. They've come with their fooleries. They've come with their stories.
Mm-hmm.
I just read. And so I think so that moment when rumors would go around, I had to be careful with this girl. In my mind, I'm like, if only these people know that I had made up my mind. And truly I did. At some point I said, never will I marry again. So you see how my life was being stolen.
Yeah.
Everything that would have made my life good and beautiful was taken, and I believed it.
Yeah.
Yes, and I was saying it, and I accepted it.
Yeah.
I thought I was, in fact, I was Christianizing it. I was holy. Oh my God. I felt it was good. In any debate that had to do with punching men, I was always top. I was on top of my lungs screaming it. How bad. I became stereotypical, thinking every man is bad.
Every man is bad, yeah.
Yeah. Those were the things that trauma posed to me.
Before we move to your triumph, so was your confidence completely buried? Was it numb or was it lost at that point? What really happened to your confidence when you were going through that initial trauma?
Well, I think I can't say it was dead, because from benefit of hindsight, I can tell eventually I came out. But it was numb. It was, no matter what you did, you couldn't prick it to sustain it. It was numb. It was just there. I was not half of what I was at those moments, of what I had been. I was not even a bit of it. So it was numb, really. It was numb. You don't forget, I had a father that was doting. In his little way, he could. Clothes were not an issue. And don't forget, I mentioned that. I had only 3. Yeah. Just change. Only some of you were always, I think I can say it. It's not hiding. Oh, you buy clothes, dress me up. I don't know what that meant. Not because I didn't have them back in the house, but in Africa, who born me to even request for them to come? I had messed up at home. So I couldn't even ask for my clothing. And so, one of the things that helps in confidence is also your outlook.
Exactly.
I wore only what I could. Not even because I afforded that, but what was given. That was all. And so it was numb. I'm telling you. To answer straight up, it was numb, but not dead. It wasn't really dead. It wasn't dead.
Yeah, so I know there are some lies that trauma told you. And it's not just trauma, like you said in the course of your talking, that some people even said it. Some did not say it physically. They said it with their eyes, with their looks. And somehow you believed those things. So I'm sure there are some lies that experience told you that, okay, this is you, and you actually embraced it. You cut it down, like our bishop will say, "Who clan and sing kafi shaman and bo." So what are those kind of lies that were told you in your head? At times when you look at the mirror at those points, I'm not even sure you were able to look at the mirror, At times when you look at the mirror, there are some words that will come to you. It's like it's the mirror talking to you. It's like it's the mirror telling you this is how you look. But in the real sense of it, it is what is there in your mind that the mirror is reflecting to you. So what are those
Exactly.
kind of words? What are those kind of words that you believed, some lies that you believed because of what you were going through?
Now, number one. Now, I'm sure if you don't need rocket science to know that I'm dark skinned, Now, because I did not even take care of my body. Some of the time, I don't recall really having anything on my table. I became 10 times darker that moment.
Exactly.
And God told me that I was never beautiful. That is how you feel. You might be shocked. I grew up hearing my father calling me queen. Don't forget, my name is Regina. That means the reigning queen. That's the interpretation. I knew it wasn't that he would just throw it at me. No, my father would say, Where's that Queen of England? I had confidence, but those moments they went under, and I never believed I was beautiful. I never. But all those people. And so you know what it means for a woman to say she's not fine? That you so anybody looking at me, someone threw this. Oh my God. I like the fact that we're telling this story now. Somebody looked at me back in the day and said, now, wow, it's just you black like this. You go ever get hot.
Oh my God.
And I looked at that woman and I smiled.
Wow.
That moment she met me was that moment that I had started getting out of my, second guessing. At least I was getting towards the university. Already the grounds were positive. I was already getting out of the shell. When that lady said that, I recall I wanted to bust out crying there, but I held myself. I went back home. I alone and my child. And I said, God, is it true that I'm not fine? I used to say, look, I used to do that. I said, so is it that bad that I've become so this ugly? And then I looked into the mirror. There was a sermon our daddy Bishop Okem talked about. He was trying to describe hate and how if you deal with the spirit of hate, or is it an attitude or whatever. I think you might remember the story. I don't know, but you can. I hardly forget his sermons. They always come back to me. And so he said, the story went that there was a particular guy that hated a particular preacher so much such that he had nothing good about the preacher. And then he died. And then coincidentally, the preacher became the one to do the burial rites. And then when the coffin was opened, the preacher decided, and people, the congregation or the attendees as well, wanted to hear the last words of the preacher. And they thought it was like, it was going to be, good riddance to bad rubbish. Finally, enemy. But when he told that story that year, he said, the man looked at him and looked at the body and said, I used to love his set of teeth. I don't know whether you remember.
I remember. Wow. I remember.
I'm telling you, that was my response. That was the response I got. I said, did I check your teeth? You laugh a lot. Have you ever wondered how white and beautiful the set of your teeth are?
Wow.
Or is? And truly, I looked in the mirror and I saw, yeah, I've got a white set of teeth, and I laugh a lot. That did it. That did it. But those were lies. Momentarily, I believed her. In fact, before her, she would have been the one that would nail the coffin. I believe that. I also believed that the end of the road was there for me. I saw myself, in fact, Lola, you won't believe it. When I began to think of remarrying, when the thought would come, I would sit down and say, okay, you have a daughter, the only kind of person that should come to you that you must accept. Divorcee.
Somebody like you.
Divorcee.
Somebody like you.
Yes. Baby mama, or the one that has what did I used to say? There was a widower. At least, guess what the lie also told me? At least if he insults you, you have a reason to hold him also, to insult him back.
Just that. Oh, that's so flimsy. Oh my God.
I'm telling you the truth. Those were the. I saw that idea in my head that anyone that would, even when it's as this one, he's playing, just playing because he's a young guy, he's playing. And so he wants to come to me so that to mess me up again. No way, you can't do that. And if those silly ones came with wives, of course, I used to say I would never go after someone's husband. But the ones that had maybe baby mama, and I have an idea, and I sort of wanted to give them green lights. Oh goodness, those lines.
Because you believed that you were worth nothing better than that.
Exactly.
You deserved nothing better than that because of what you went through.
Yes. And then I also believed that I couldn't get to a high institution. I believe so. Those moments, I never thought that I could do that jam that I seem to have said. It didn't come that cheap. It came with convincing. It came with convincing pair rubbing off on me and beginning to build and tell me that, look, it's not over until it's over.
Yeah.
But it never came cheap. I can tell you. You guys know the pain, so you can understand. It was a struggle to come out of those lies. I never believed that. The day I went to the university, I walked up, down. I went to the rooftop of Moremi Hall and I cried. I told myself, so you could go back to university.
A quick question for you there. You know, I've been thinking, it's like maybe I can't remember anymore. I know a little bit, but when you went to school, I know your daughter had grown to some extent at that point. So how were you able to cope with leaving her, who you left her with, and the thought of, oh, I don't know what is happening to her, where she is she okay, is she that? Because I know somehow that would even affect you at school. It would affect your concentration to some extent. And so how were you able to navigate that challenge?
That was some traumatizing. I am glad that you asked me that question. Thank you for reminding me. That was another level of trauma. You know, we're so close. We were together. We're literally, you knew how we were, bonded. And then I had to go to school. And then the distance alone, of course, if anyone watching that does not understand Nigeria, by road, it's 12 hours or max 10 with a good car. By air, yes, 1.5. But that's to tell you how, of course, back in the day, I wasn't flying. And I couldn't see her as often as I could. We had a checkered, 1 minute they're on strike, the next minute we're coming back. And sometimes they're on strike. You want to go home, they call off the strike, you return home. And then you are getting information from home that she's not really doing well. I had visited one day and I found her in what I cannot. I cried. I wept. We discussed that. She's married today, but once in a while she talks to me about how she coped. And anytime I remember, makes me want to cry. She coped with her own pain of losing, not having me close, with having a cloth. I didn't know why when I visited back in the day, she would insist that I left something. And it would always be either my head tie or my sweater or something, but I would do it willingly. And of course, I was happy to. She wasn't that comfortable back in the days there. There's some things that I chose to just let it go. But it wasn't a funny situation. Yes, she was where she supposed, of course, where she was loved by her father there, the representative, of course, the person that was her father. But the love from the other end, I got information. People genuinely would call me and say, can you let her come stay with us first?
Every time we sit down to talk, her story unfolds in ways that remind me how strong the human spirit can be. In this part, we've seen more of the realities she faced, and yet we're still not done. There is more to uncover about her journey from trauma to triumph. So, stay with us for part 3, where we will explore how she began rebuilding her sense of self and the confidence to dream again. Please like, comment, and share this with someone who needs to know that even in the hardest seasons, their story isn't over.